Many trials have surprises, twists and turns that we don't anticipate. But the stunning news that John Bolton has circulated a book manuscript that directly alleges the president told him he would not release military aid to the Ukrainians unless they coughed up information about the Bidens is a bombshell and could well be a game changer, at least in terms of forcing Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans to allow testimony from witnesses in the impeachment trial. Let's explain why. Remember the presentation by one of the president's lawyers, Michael Purpura, on Saturday? He repeatedly emphasized that there was no direct testimony linking the withheld military aid to the president's request for investigations into the Bidens. He even played clips from Gordon Sondland in which he said it was only his presumption that there was a connection between the two. And Purpura said the president at all times was acting in the national interest. Now we know that John Bolton is prepared to say something very different, that the president told him directly there was a connection between the two. As one White House advisor told me today, the account of what's in Bolton's manuscript washes away Purpura's defense of the president and makes it more likely than ever that the Senate will have no choice but to call him as a witness. Here's a key question. What did the president's lawyers know, and when did they know it? We now know from Charles Cooper, John Bolton's lawyer, that Bolton's book manuscript was submitted to the White House for review on December 30, nearly a month ago. Did the president's legal team make any effort to find out what was in it? Were they alerted and simply ignored it? Good questions. Here's a clip from our Skullduggery Pod interview last Friday in which we asked one of the president's lawyers, Robert Ray, about prospective testimony from John Bolton. Do you have any idea what John Bolton would say if he's called to testify?
That's not my task here. Okay,
No,
my task.
Do you have any idea?
I'm not. Well, look, my task here is to deal with the existing record. Okay, there will not be a record with regard to what John Bolton might testify to until such time as the Senate, in its wisdom, decides that it needs to hear from John Bolton.
And what happens if the Senate does vote that it wants to hear his testimony?
Then we are prepared for all contingencies, including a trial with witnesses as necessary.
So what happens now? The president's lawyers will continue their defense to the Senate, and everybody will be listening closely to see whether they address the elephant in the room, what's in that John Bolton book. But after they're done and the senators get to ask questions, they'll be taking what is surely going to be the most momentous vote yet, whether to call witnesses in this trial, and it now looks more and more like that's going to happen.